Assalamu alaikum. Agon muju anakkasin badda kolli fikuri ingilab ga episode akako. Miyadaki December dihe International Human Rights Day. Miyaduk episode mihasa kollani Ahmed Rizwan ge wahaka kudakoddakka. Eneki minivannuge journalist enawani mige dehar kurin bagan naga. Miyadaki asateka fansas faswana tuas ಏನನು ಫೆಣಿ ಏನೆ ವೀನು ವಿ ಎಣ್ಣೆಂಗಿ ಎವ್ವೆಸ್ ಮೀಹೆಕ್ ಎಕಮ ಅಳಾನುಲ ಉಳೇತ ಏನಗೆ ಆಯ್ಲಾಯ ಏನಗೆ ರಮೆತ್ತೆರಿನ್ನ එහෙම මිස් මෙහො කම්බොඩුවේ මේ දුගෙන් හොස්සේ හොවායරු අහරුමෙන් එම්මෙන් මිතිබි එව්වෙස් කමක අලානු දෙවි අහරු එම්මෙන් මිතිබි මිකම ග්‍රැවිටි ආමෙද එක්කොතක වෙස් විස්නානුලා එව්වෙස් අඩබ්බඩෙන් නැති රයිතුම් වගන්නගා රයිතුම් ගෙල්ලුවාලා ඒකමුගේ තහුගී ගම් උරසලා මිහුරයා කංකවකි රේවිගෙන් රයිතුන්න ඉදිකොළ හිඟා කංකම් ගොම්මස් ෆරහතකෝ ඒගේ මක්සදකි එකහ කංකම් කුරා මීහුම් බේනුම් වනි මිනිවන් හියාලා මිනිවන් ෆිකුරා එච්චි නත්තාලා එමිහුම් ගාමුගමච්චන් ඇග්ගදවේ ඩික්ටේටර්ෂිප් හිංගා නූනියා දීනී හරකෂ්කමගේ තෙරය ගවුමු එල්ලාලා හලබෝලිකම් උෆෙද්දු අහරමෙන් අලානුලා තිවෙජ්ජ කමගා වඤ්ඤා වාණිගතකි එමිහුම් ගදවේ රයිතුම් බලිකෂිවේ හීනරු වෙතා එක්ගොතක වෙස් එගොතකම් ගොරිය දීගෙන්නවා අලගොන් මියදුගේ එපිසෝඩුගා බද්දව කොල්ලි යාමින් රෂීදකි අලගොන්ඩා රිල්වානුගේ වෙස් rahmetteri ad medu find moya meha campaign hinga coordinate ko organize kurani ves medu conversation ga yamen awanda kyadini kam peshigen diegota kama behe farattaka siyasi party taka ehem mes me kankuri gota kam wamunda gota elifa huri hurastaka den hedidani goggotuge wahakata dem migenesteni a conversation ballawalawa. Assalamu alaikum. Fikuri ingilawge a episode kakkogagon muju badda kolli furtama fahara guest kakkogoda badda kolla Yameen Rasheed me Yamin kudako ane self taaruf de men furtama ane balami hunge benefit.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Yameen Rasheed. I'm a writer. I think this is the first podcast I'm doing with Muju, in fact, with anybody. People know me as Yameen on Twitter, and I write. And in my part time, I publish things on random columns and newspapers. Other than that, I develop software, but not many people know that.
Okay. So, what we'll focus this talk and this entire conversation on our mutual friend Rilwan. You know, as everyone knows, he's been missing for more than 2 years now, and this video, when we release it, it would be December 10th, International Human Rights Day. So I think vara rangalwan do me focus kolla Rilwan ge wahaka dakka because we know him very well, and you have been vara close committee monitor koramon karim balamon garret issati hemema. So kiyal dem en mojuwa Rilwan ge kesa wagota and everything that you know basically.
Yeah, so Mihara Raja Gaslawara Madhuana Kanyaga Rilwanga case ke overall me understanding Nemmi but this International Human Rights Day we must along Bernam Vanete reiterate column again. So as you know, today is 855 days since Rilwan disappeared. On August 8th, 2014, Rilwan took a ferry home to Hulumale. And he was abducted. And I think because he was staying alone, it took a while for the friends and family to sort of find out from each other that actually nobody knew where he was though. And I still remember August 11th, I think. A friend of mine calls me and asked me, have you heard from Rilwan Haider? Then like that sounded like a very odd question. They said, no, that really spiked up my Emotions, like I just quickly went on Twitter and he hadn't tweeted in a few days, and it was quite shocking, and then found out that this was actually pretty serious, and we reported it to the police, and if the case has sort of been dead, but at the same time we sort of been running this campaign then find Moyamiha, this hashtag on Twitter and so on.
I'll leave me video description the website so that anybody can just quickly refer to it. So
yeah, we have a website, findmoyamiha.com, and on that we see this. For Thomas on the top, you see how many days it has been since since he was abducted. We still have a reward for information on, Rilwan's abduction.
How much is the reward?
Family and, sorry?
How much is the reward, by the way, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, so like I said, Rilwan's family, we're like just a regular families, but we've sort of collected funds of say 200,000 for information leading, to identification of whoever did capture abduct Rilwan. And that has still been unclaimed, but we still keep it on the website.
This is me bune and hewede faratakung ane donate ko for hilarido.
Basically,
yeah,
yes. Okay. And then we have a timeline of events. This is the first case of its kind in Maldives. Before this, there has never been an enforced disappearance of a journalist, especially in this sort of modern times. Though previously you would have heard of prison deaths and so on, but in this time and age, with all the CCTVs and everything everywhere, for a journalist to be taken away, this is serious. This is
definitely
big deal, though.
Hello.
Yeah, and for the state to have responded, Sarakaram miadeterega kantakurabonga is it's quite condemnable, though. And do you want to go through the on the website also? There we do have a timeline of events.
Let's just go through everything that you want to share.
Well, okay. Again, like I said, most Divahang already know this, but I already told you that he was abducted on that night. So there are many things about this case that just blows your mind if you think about it. Rilwan was taken. Rilwan took the ferry, 1 a.m. ferry from Male to Holomale. And that was the last tweet he made. I think he was on the ferry with Yupe or somebody, some actor. And that's what he does. He always tweets on a ferry. Like he has this hashtag fairy tales that he frequently uses.
I remember.
And then we know through a mutual acquaintance of Rilwan, who was also on the ferry, that he did not take the bus. I think sometimes he prefers to walk to his house. He would have reached around 1:25, 1:30. And then hinga forget the then like between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, right outside Rilwan's apartment, some witnesses, they heard some screaming. And they found or they were taking a man, forcibly pushing him into a car and driving away. And in that commotion, sort of, they dropped a knife. And
this witness wasn't. This witness was sure this is Ahmed Rizwan Menge carrying Kamasha, and then the cops have been through all this stuff. Though.
Well, it was Rilwan's neighbor, so it's for this person to look out of the window and see would automatically, sort of confirm that. Me ako gada ka mong car ka lagi megendi. And there was this knife there. Then me hum fuluhon na kagulare. The fuluhon as etanong there was a knife and it is if I can go say that. Then there was total silence. Like I mean, no like to me identify kuraka besan hembonam. And Rilwan was living alone at the time. So Um, and he had this habit like abadu dangirir palan and text korami hinanna he would disappear for a few days, and that's fine. He liked to be, by himself.
Yeah, and all his friends said that he occasionally took some alone time.
Like he preferred to be alone. He liked that sort of silence. That's why he was pretty much living alone as well at that point of time. Kuringan Hulumalega, he used to be in a separate, different apartment by the beach. Hulumalega siya this Rilwan at Gulam. Then we go and hang out at the beach, and he really liked it. He would tell me like how much he liked the sunset and sunrise from outside his apartment and so on. So that was something. That was the sort of life he really wanted, to be simple, to be minimal, to be alone, sort of. So anyway, then as we said, we reported this on August 12th, and then like it was sort of difficult to stay home and do nothing. We didn't know, like we were at that point, it was that maybe he just went to some island, maybe he just wanted,
as any friend would though.
It would suit his nature to they didn't that kind of me. Like maybe he'll teach or something like that. That is something he seriously considered. I am speaking to all his other friends as well, and I mean, was that kind of we just get a boat and go to some island. Then we had this hope that maybe this is all it was, and but still, so I met up with another friend, Karo, like who's this graphics designer, put down Twitter.
Yeah, I know.
So I was at his place, and we decided to let's do something. Holumal at the time had vast areas of uninhabited land. And the Holumal search koranda something and full island cover. Then so then we had to begin, and Karo sort of made a map.
So that you can blocks taka bahala and search Qurani and area taka locate kolla.
Block areas taka locate ko kore vidana kada.
Yeah.
Then then hitangere kada volunteers kore hodam Twitter ga jaha then hitagere kada we are trying to find him, find Rilwan to jahani, find Moyamiha to. I thought most people know him as Moyamiha presence, so I made it Find Moyamiha hashtag.
So that's the beginning of that particular hashtag though?
Yeah, so that's how the hashtag came about to be. So I just, because it started as a literal search for Rilwan on Holomale. I got the Find Moyamiha hashtag at Jahaf. I asked for volunteers, and
how many people volunteered?
Oh, quite a few. Like a lot of people did. Something like 30 to 40 people turned up that night. I asked them to come to Masweringa Park in Male so that I could brief them on Mikam Qurani Goidda. And then I had this WhatsApp group so that people can install that and I can communicate with them.
Coordinate ko hadan.
Then I turned the other Rilwan and I saw his mother for the first time that day, and I've heard about his, like he would talk about his mom by I never had met them ever. I couldn't really talk to them because it was just a very strange. I was still not mentally, it just felt very unreal. Then I remember this day, August Fanaraga, we were in Holomale early morning. All these groups were coming. Then Holomale Ferry Terminal category, there's this little hut that became our coordination center. And asked me, I report him back. We had drones, Bernakogan aerial search, the best conduct coding. And then
you did the search for quite a few days, though.
No. We searched, we covered the whole island.
Even those grids that you made.
Yeah, and then because we had quite a good number of volunteers, so we could sort of cover the whole island. And And like we said, we did drone footage. We covered inaccessible areas. Then, HDC must for their corporate code MTCC now, like to give us access to some of the areas. So they were very helpful at all of them. We didn't find him, yes, but while we were searching, we heard these rumors because me have kidnapped Gendio Hake. Then Korea's Bonnie have me Wahakes the Veraje. He comment on the we have kidnapped Gendio. Muling ala be coming but then for them are doing name is called double and there were all sorts of rumors passing around. So I'm called Gabul Koremas Dati Ekamako. Over time, like Tankol Gina, even Peshima, we sort of had to follow all the leads. And then we found out there was an eyewitness. Then media organizations, journalists, the group and media eyewitness of Abdul Kura. I'm going to key in the Mihenne maybe. Miha Gada Kamo Karakamar Gendiatam Fenigan following as me. Body recover Koriwa we had to kiad me in front of journalists. So there's nothing the police can deny about it, except they did. And then Anaka was me follow home and release a statement. Remember, Rilwan Holomale Diakam best evidence and nothing. CCTV footage wala review kore.
But we had the CCTV footage circulating on social media.
Yeah, but that was later. So in the beginning, there was like multiple contradictory statements they made. For them, a case report courier of we were the ones who said he was last going to Holomale. He was with his friends and family that evening. And then basically they said the search announcement had got the Rilwan was last seen at Holomale ferry terminal. Like a mimi CCTV review of a footage review of a and that there's no evidence that he did leave, except we obtained the footage as in Rilwan's friends and family, and we reviewed and gave it. And then I think Rilwan's brother it was here.
How many hours of footage did you have to go through to get something substantial?
We knew roughly when he was at the ferry terminal, right? So we just had to review like a couple of hours footage, basically. So I think it was Rilwan's brother who found him though, like, at the ticket counter, then entered around 44 if I remember. Then goes, I don't think there's any cameras at the ferry terminal in Holomale at that time. So Gam was Mipolo ferry and Eric coming then we don't have any footage of him disembarking or anything. Yeah, so
ekologa suredo ama barabara arrival food camera because I haven't been to Raja in like 4 years, so I don't know this stuff.
The Mihar gotenenga gamas era hore Holomale ferry terminal connect camera, and then so we have no footage of him getting down or walking home as such. Then yeah, so the following air boni me evidence and nete boni bodong they never corrected it. In fact,
so they never retracted
that. In fact, I think as recently as July 2015, they made a public statement that Holomale gahinga the abduction Rilwan case. So I best gulumeng come get second. So they were actively sort of trying to make it two separate things. Then now I'm not sure if this is an official statement we could make. We know as part of the campaign that commis bayako then commis bayako spreading rumors basically that Holomale gahinga the abduction and again the Anghen Kujake it's a sort of separate case.
Okay. So it wasn't real, and if it wasn't, so it can't be Rilwan.
Yeah, basically that was the implication. But
Yeah.
then it's not just a single source. They can tantano misal
Uh-huh.
journal media terege. Ado eka information taka plant koramam was there. Then so we knew that this was going on. Ekamako we couldn't go public and say that we know it was because we need the police to investigate and establish this. That's the role of the police. Then after the island search, all of his friends had sort of come together. Then Bernam become miskamek Kuranda. Couldn't let this pass by.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah, so and then me come Friday ako public me artificial beach ko bagong public events take petition petition nagasoy ko basically Majliha. Become Bangladesh because Majlis has control of all its independent bodies, PIC, HRC. So oversight body is the Majlis for all of this institution. The working PIC yasha and NIC yasha.
Kial dechenge petition ge response achieve kial dech.
Yeah. So kuda me Friday ga baby events that was kiya there. Me aslo wago de kirajje if you go to mvmurders.com, we have this huge violent crime rates. We have been something people have been murdered and so on. We know about a kid called Bobby who was killed, and his family too did a campaign. But it was again forgotten by Kalhama ever since I've known the case goes on him. Yeah, so it was there, but then it went away, and then we don't know for whom Marale like they were like young boys and so on. Like
there's no closure on any of this, though.
Yeah, so it just becomes an anonymous statistic. We didn't want police to have this freedom to just sit on it for a few days and then people forget about it. And if
it would just keep happening again and again. Rilwan's disappearance has to mean something, though.
Then meet like all Rilwan's friends. We are all people with jobs, and so we thought of and then social media me information spread kuruma me broadcast media TV interviews to the petition and heduma hengas city ta million ito hama me then basically har man approach horiha institution takagas this me koran me kam Bangladesh don't let this go away like previous cases. Then I still very specifically remember we didn't want to be alone in this grief. Basically, the Rilwan Aila. This is a very regular family. They're a very nice family, but they're again not people of extraordinary means or anything. All they had was basically us, his friends. So because we got together and we thought, "Hama migota, etang Aila dive Aila tanga bawleda insaf no bitba." Then we got together, I think, at Maldivian City Council Hall, and then sat around in a circle and discussed. And it was so depressing. So many families had given up. That's the sort of the state of
hope
like imagine like somebody you have brought up it's your own child grow up to be 20, 25, 28 years and maralani whatever and then then Quran ebbes come in that is not normal. It
is not normal. It is not acceptable. Okay, we can no one. Me okay with Tibe Fada, me Tibeni.
Okay, then ekam kuribai ko hama tibene magamati ga hama emi hunna hum furi hama meniwan kama kon ewlene ekamako
And
ekam
if they and
koramedi
ekang alung kuram viasis hemmi eka kuram viasis they are free to do it.
and they have been doing it. That's
And
why we have the stats of murders and so on
uh-huh.
increasing. Ehvima then Mikang aslo pottuam benum this impunity that these people enjoy. And this impunity is enjoyed because me do kolla tido then insaf and ulibene insaf me I mean it's 2 years we still haven't received it ekam ko bene men nove hama e stubbornness kasne masaket korani da and that's why me find moya me ha me campaign we have used this symbol of a question mark even that came around in that sense then kakubaye da then harin bae Miguel Lualade no
so him again etem phone ek profile picture taka gus komme mi hegge kanoga suwal ma ke gotang phone
Swal
name do
market
yeah
yes
so ege and layered man intended that's what
exactly then ka varkud suwal etta Rilwan week hine bae mihem bedana hai hem mihe ka harin bae den dane do and this is common misaka holumale ferry terminal ka camera and etum bae class bagan nego miha ko this could happen to anybody it doesn't have to be Rilwan it could happen to anybody but it happened to Rilwan and we were insistent that police find out what happened in this case Furtama dohum pashigam bes hama so dohum ega mi case kanta korawanga wara hen kahal gotaka not normal
do you want to detail that or would you rather not at the detail kollade
here's what I can say
okay
I'll go back to the petition for them
right okay
the petition we had it public tantagadame we were going around telling people about Rilwan. We had this then eke kahal events that we like many of his friends were artists and Rilwan also liked art he liked poetry he liked photography and then Rilwan ge kala Leon taka mihuri had we were sort of compiling we wanted everything we could about Rilwan because we wanted and Hori had manners in that Rilwan was extraordinary he was super intelligent
yes, he was.
super kind you would know he
yeah I spoke to him barabar 3 days before he disappeared I spoke to him 6 days before he disappeared we talked about some of the work he was doing then name drop no so I won't go etana ekamaku me we kept in touch muju furagen dieta gaganaka and they are and Rilwan disappearance so before that we used to hang out you remember and thing and to actually hear eha gam me hako and to know enege konkala mi hekama enege intention now raji ingi hure someone doing malicious something like that was an absolute shock they respond kurane gote vesasla kunne ekamaku inge ha hechki dukolle bekanne nonnane ka
and I also met Rilwan and Rodama Fahudu we got together at a friend's place then both Rilwan and me we were sort of introverts and I didn't like going to public places and tadaka dan jehonas amako Rilwan nadda golane then we can just keep each other company then and he picked me up that day we went to this friend's place and Rodavilla we had a really good fun time and then that was the last time I actually met him and then I think around 10 days later was this happened and then we had this petition with 5,000 and 5,000 is a big number
it is a big number and alla siyasi party hedire spain onwe
first class vote member. That's how big it is. There's no single MP that has 5,000 votes. First class riot and cycle for their petition
Yagin tado.
Ekamako ekanta vesdiye war ehem kahal gotaka. As in except kofa eta doha fa me bonane kommes idare masale ka hadid ne te khat kommes check After me protested and then they took it back. If I'm
who was given the jawab idari kanta ke kya gaya who was
Majli hoga then on that then Majli hoga
of office side ane hen amane
yeah.
job gonna ko jadda
Yeah, again, and then me find me a campaign when we made it into a public campaign here in the media plus on the streets we were doing this and make waki ebbis bayaka just salam again mata waki bayaka tuhumat ko none of that we just wanted focus on this case me masala tahogi ko deshe rilwana bigote anga deshe me kan me hingaga nuwan da ekak pure bayaka batibbe me diwe rajyaga that was all we wanted and we wanted assistance from everybody Korea state institutions and Korea siyasi party to the rajya wagoteke at the end of the day functioning organizations committee beni siyasi party taka some NGOs then we thought we would have a very public rally and become a good again we approached Korea siyasi party to them at that point in 2014 and PPM was from city at the minute just in solidarity with this is a good cause this is not a kikebunani anti or pro-government thing this is a missing journalist an abducted journalist in fact and me express your solidarity with this PPM account jawab other party was parliament they basically just refused to hang up this party MDP by very for that I'm thankful to MDP and they have been consistently helping us the PPM was in the beginning I have to acknowledge this because we had our event me artificial beach which is right opposite PPM the office was then I think sound system and electricity those kind of assistance that can live on PPM and we were very happy for that we approached campaign Farathon PPM youth leader because Ibrahim Yusuf Boche MP then at the time they seemed genuinely concerned and they really wanted to help and what a positive that PPM it is a disappeared youth and it's not just any youth it's a educated kind intelligent sort of an ideal youth who has been abducted
he was a positive role model to pretty much
anyone
he knew though
PPM for them an initial positive signals that can live on him what a fires Baki sabe quando ainda vigo até com phone no naga jawab no libeda then ane netedo then basically every
they didn't say it literally him bunit and only just by ignoring the implied the ethical called it
like kulliyaka effahara horiham phone no naga hottali you would sort of get the message
so ignored and implied though that we don't care
putting a positive concern I mean it seemed like they were genuinely concerned as well and and it was upsetting because PPM is the ruling party they have a majority in parliament and they could have gotten things done through the parliament committees and so on and I think I might be wrong, but I think it was the 241 committee. And the committee, but the Cedric I may have visited on Nerefa. We have no idea what they did, but we have not seen any positive outcome. Majli petition was at the so we haven't really responded in the way Rayatunga Majli Kanta Kuranje Gotenunkanenge, Rayatung Geldiga Mode. And then Egotagas Aneka. Rilwan Gelligan Enahar for the baby Swal March. Yeah, Swal March is the name of a street rallies.
I remember.
Yeah, so same thing, police obstruction. Then maybe for a combined one, you might remember PPM I'm speaking Sarukar, they had this street rallies one on the Kekengas, Adibu Saika, the Kangara.
I remember. Broad
and there
was
was
sort of
police obstruction to that. These were known gang members and so on bikes. Fulham for him ebbalundin ekam kuru. Come Rilwan get was calling mamma that the island and Rilwan's friends. Ma gina ban like 100 maybe people. We just wanted to go from one point in Mali to the other. If this anehang odagula nukadda bayaka. Fulham as or sala huddana ganjihane kamake da me mune nuchirana huddana gaka. Me ganan sasi goveda me hama anekka we don't need police permission to rally. Then Hamas, they harass us, they stop us. Then MFahum baby sual machka. Me it wasn't pepper spray, some chili water, some irritant chemical. I don't kore Rilwan gaila me Rilwan baby cubs they attacked them physically me kiya. Ehavar kolla me Rilwan ge case kama hakane me ha Merolian and just hababs. Feel ekama kama kiyane at the same time if you contrast it with ehen realist ka nyana sakarate no jahda. So we feel that there is an active opposition to Rilwan's family from the police. These are people haramangelare na mi musarmen.
Yes, yagin.
Right.
So this resistance was definitely coming from people in charge of the police.
Well, I don't think we have any personal enmity officer or what do you call that junior cops. Yeah, I have as something where a hutur baham wahakada ka me ania ka chemical spray jaha. And I don't know. Then Rilwan Island me so much announce koram making ege theorist was korim holumale ferry terminal because baby press conference. Then I was me as conference to wala. And barang adis korim the me diha minute ago announcement ke nime harmen daane me mitanu hama ebbes baya kamudago nuwaga takane gameta tibega nikam koran. Aduwa hakabes pena when hamas hottuare them. And very blatant, with total impunity, basically.
So why do you think there was? What's the aneheng forum mulani coach by heng itakannara at a point to the
forum ulamaka I think bernuvane me aila intimidate korum kannenge mihenga soda koranya aniya koranya mikam huttalaane mi wahaka dekkom huttalaane egotadda dem
but what do they hope to gain unless they have an involvement? Somebody higher up is involved.
Then there's a pattern consistently. Then that's what I'm trying to sort of arrive at. The press conference for so much suggest some kurum. Me hang ekkala evvume not even a rally me artificial based on thanagga that we are doing this social media ga jaha tane emi handane ehem mi haka koringa tana tibena do vanga madakokke I remember me Rilwan birthday do me a lot of his friends basically Rilwan liked origami cranes stuff so in his sort of solidarity with him his friends made little origami cranes and it was like 500 days castle they made these cranes and on his birthday we sort of delivered it to Rice of here was no media like just his family and some of us we wanted to give a press statement or a short like a minute long statement and we were done and Rice of here goes anakati defender the box and the city and deepa Nikumegang as press statement was Megan Mitibi goes on was it for a building of Gazi building Kavelana Gakurimacha and Faliga Mitibi. I said the me so riot police van
Gia Huriha Changala again.
then gear and come the riot police ka uniform
okay.
ne me mi as me tibe neta erkola kom atwaj sabane mita kon tibe wena ehem bunir me tibe adi paswara kam mi honda just island couple of us mun kibe tibe wena ne me green zone ekta wena kechapda penganne velana ke kurimati ka tibe bedan hebune masse nete agores ko fiti be velana anek kaya sa pahato asem tagas no tibe wena da asle kibe bone me gano na hila fa evlani something me ke miti be taxi no de bega madu pagganna it was literally what we were doing then ekkada me media me hum bes ekko ganda amwalni kam me me manzar fene gana kaas hama camera ko tema man camera bes hadi do tihen as like to a grieving family to come and disturb them, harass
to
them,
bully them and all that. No?
Bully them. Yeah, public. Like this doesn't look good on the police service. This is not. Then this is like.
I don't think they care what looks good. I think it's all about intimidation.
Power intellectual capacity was neti kanne.
Magi katu was neti.
Then why got the key? Then they make the quality control than kola dabbe ma. Basically gang member on a kemi on a ma bad tafaten ne mashakanya game hin deni kon ka thamreen ekamako it doesn't work so
maybe it works very well thamreen we don't know for their purpose
no but the thing is in my mind follow him as a rajya ga devan police service dunya ga hin daga men police force service ke hidumate hama rayatun de hidumate the post office ke police service ke basically these are servants public servants
expect korani peace keep kurasha and public order maintain kurasha ekhala kan taketta me oleni ane he understand wa police ke role ta kagi bara ekhala
me ule faadu maslo pora ek nege me ka rayatun dassada ga me ulenje sabab me then eduwa bes hama bada jawab kannakak gasten ebisme ko hire and ko rekamako afa me taxi kara ga nanne semihanti peta so this was the sort of police reaction that we got but then there were more disturbing things then follow amako me muzahara can MDP muzahara gas if you go there this is how they behave whether nami hunna me te kala comments they're categorizing this into MDP check even though there was no MDP people there
then so association warang abang hedikanne yardo the MDP ne me pushkurani Rilwan ge ekankamuga activist untake protest
association make kuravena kurame sababake hamen diyan horiha siyasi party kari gossa horiha men kari ades ko fabone baaveri vedesha then MDP ekane respond kore that is not in our control. PPM anonymous Rice Yameen anonymous we would have been happy. Doesn't have to be Rice Yameen, but anyway, Rice Yameen has never met Rilwan's family. Adi adabes. Ekamako Rice Yameen ge photo take fenedo gang member onna commis restaurant holulan gossa. Nikahala eche manzar ta friend na tias udagovani. If he has the time to do those things, why can't he meet Rilwan's family? That is something that
just to show solidarity or that at least he cares come up with the beginning
and like I said me divehraj ge furutama fahara me ulane journalist ka gellu wala ge me duniya ge hen gaam tak mas kambodu me faal ko kam divehraj ge raisul jumhuriya comment ko me kiyane EU parliament mas resolution pass ko fe Rilwan ge tahge gawas ko de US State Department, Amnesty International, RSF, all of these organizations and international huge press organizations and so on. Sarkar tak mebahore statements tak release ko. Dive rajya ga raisul jumhuriya kane mege bahen nubun edi mihatana. Then edda me commis media me mic dikkole kana poni kanne the commis pa ko balane.
I remember that was
statement then, but that is not a statement you expect from a president.
No, I was offended to hear it, to be very honest. I remember that day.
Exactly. So egota the sarukarum kantatakode, but again the police harassment maybe that is just how they are conditioned. Maybe amihunna thamren tanu debani ekam evvara ma disturbing kantattaka wese bahori fuluhum koffa me Rilwan case ka
kya diya
ekkamaki misalaka me furthermake the fact that they never acknowledged Rilwan's abduction with his me they never basically confirmed Rilwan hulumale diyakamas rasmi ko miyaharuge April degga baby press conference එක kannenge furtama fahara me fuluhum acknowledge kore Rilwan gelluwali kamaves Rilwan hulumale diyakam
we're talking 1.5 years later almost
2 years later yeah
April le bunnim
April yes
Yeah,
exactly
so
April 2016
okay
yeah so this was quite self-evidently a big issue but then me April the baby me press conference kaldi then itara malumade terega bone me Rilwan ge abduction ga benam kori kaaro debuna DNA ane matchwe mikene with Rilwan or rather through Rilwan's mother so ekamako ege dehas fanarawa naharuga I think July hisaba kanne me I'm not sure about the date but they did make a public statement saying that DNA evidence conclusive link and phenomena with Rilwan's abduction, which was an obvious misrepresentation based on what they said in April 2016. Then that was actually a twist on words. The sort of DNA test that they did was something called mitochondrial DNA test. Because when you get like poor samples, you can't do a nucleus DNA 100% match ko fabona ba na sa ka mojoga DNA ke mi mojoga
right
so 100% a link and establish kore ba ni hebona nucleus na DNA but they can also do something else called mitochondrial DNA which you can get from poorer samples a case ka mitochondrial DNA inherit through your mother so if you can establish that you can 100% say that this was definitely comes from Rilwan's mother's side okay so the whole purpose of this test is to establish this link right so they sent samples abroad or something we heard from the police that they sent the samples abroad then when they got the result it was a match this was what they tested for ekamakko wes aslu nuguna venata hama Rilwan
but then DNA is pretty solid evidence
I mean this is actually used duniya ge hangam missing person cases to establish a person's identity this was the whole purpose
it's science I mean it's irrefutable science it's evidence
yeah then ekamakko they said there was no conclusive evidence that it was Rilwan's and then what happened between that statement and April me press conference the only thing that from my opinion that changed was Naibrais Ahmed Adib me Jalalli and if Home Minister Umar Nasir did make a public statement about Adiba Mia Gulameta Hogi Kuramede Kahalkom message and the people who were named in the April press conference were people who had links with Adib then from what we know I mean we sort of sense this there's no sincerity in these claims Hamaikala Adib pressure kurunu ta kahalakom mes intention gada me imalumata saslame public me harm then April if I remember it was April 2016 I could be 1 or 2 days off a baby press conference they also revealed new evidence that we hadn't seen before of footage of a man following Rilwan the Mulire he went to a restaurant this guy goes after him he leaves this guy comes after him so where the Kanyakia so they had this footage all of this time then they have sold April video release ka famay bonane and me wagata ka rajya banete me gabol khora then Rajya Kudatane. We have this informal sources of information all the time.
About this law.
Yeah, and from what we know, he had only left the Maldives in January that year. So all of that time, fulong hama ena gamu do kala deru se tibida. Ena no huttua. But I was in jail for 21 days, I think, last year.
Yeah, I remember
0
that.
days.
I remember you writing about it, the experience and everything.
Yeah, I did. Not just me, there were like plenty of people.
Yeah.
One lady who was arrested on May Day last year is still in prison, in jail. And I much kuritu humatake famfoliang okay masala kan ekahala kom message. Anek kol me fennane gelluwade me journalist modere ko follow kore me that they know this guy has been following. That is more than enough circumstantial evidence to keep somebody in jail if they wanted. Ekkada famfoli okay anghe miha jadaga beben na miham bes.
Mihas bebe marta do.
Ekamako Ahmadiyya do flat and then that's why I said the police role in this becomes very difficult. Me Mikahala evidence the fenonima. For the DNA, them sued for agandia. The case involved with me the car the owner is Rajya Kune. So these are all things that they had that they did not make public, and then they did not stop the people involved from leaving the country. And then they harassed the family. And then Aneka state side of Misalaka Rilwan me Find Rilwan campaign me what a high profile campaign first year and first 2 years of it at least. It has been well received. I think the IFJ actually considers it to be the model campaign for digital campaigning. They have their materials that they distribute in this area. That's how I found out that they use this as an example of a good campaign. And the campaign did get responses from international newspapers and organizations and governments. And all the local media were covering it except TVM. Mihatana TVM Find Miha campaign ge ebbes maalumaatana nahan hissaanu kureda.
Habarakung clip ebbes.
Habarakung bes emihan found interview
how can they just pretend this is not happening when it's such a big international debate? And I mean begging Rajya locally but debate way international level how can they just sit there and ignore that this has not happened? And how do they expect us to be okay with it?
Hisabang asli me sualta ke me upedene sarukarun kikoran he mi wahakanu dakkam me udane sarukaruge involvement neti why are they hesitating against this? Why can't they acknowledge me bunane? Like I said, this is the first abduction of a journalist and first disappearance of journalists is a big story. Duniya kommita. Lanka guess me there were these cases and it made international news. Why? Because it is not acceptable. Rajya me alada me khal kaman me dimawani mivaka was dakkan jehe hasako state media they just pretended it didn't happen. And then same boda mudagu there was this MN me kocha TVM ge kocha kian PSM Twitter and there was this story that Rajya and asking ulang kommes Hindi film star ka interview no kurave again there was a story about that. So we were trying to interview this person on holiday. They did not ever come to cover any of our events. So much of
priorities can
press conference covers ekhade besechke me mihuna nade ekamako story cover kolamede Rajya asole kommes film star ge holiday. So you can sort of see how this would offend us. Not just because I'm Rilwan's friend, just as a citizen. This station is funded by, like I said, taxpayers. Rayatungalarin hinga media station rayatun
midimage public media meaga role was rayatun besrangala ngasu engifake besne dehme wagotaki role adanu kuri metankol ale besnugan nanata ginami hunge.
Exactly. So then ege iturum mimihum ekka tahuge tahuge gan nukure ta dengan hembunan habis malumat hama nukurnya we assume they don't have anything. But on top of that maybe ang bahore me aila blame was koffa me honna me tahuge gan nukure masada.
What do you mean? What kind of in a ridiculous world where the authorities blame the missing person's family?
It's actually even uglier than that. If you think about it, then I think I haven't mentioned this. Rilwan Gelduwale Deha Sadhavana Harge April Mahuga. In September, if I remember, me UK Rajang as private investigator Hingi Komisargata Hugege me, and he spoke to some gangs and some people, and he was apparently a very professional investigation that he conducted, and ena tayar kore report. They may report published kore Maldivian Democracy Network NGO, and then they published it on their website, and they had a press conference about it. Then may report they made some links between Rilwan Gelduwale and Kurinves there were some other abductions, apparently. Abductions, the gang was intimidate targeted, intimidations were taken place. Then they were targeting Ladini or whatever people that they found. The Mika links that he identified, and then Mimi Hunna Mikam Korea Kida Ekamako follow Hunna Midane lead basically. You need to investigate this pattern. And then they named some names, and this report was published by MDN in an effort to help police, to aid police in this. Fulhunge respond kori waram hadi. Fulhung ete me portray kori ai me Rilwange aila komme siyasi beenama kattaka mikam korani
kogen ole tawgi ke kogen ole report ke me da.
Imagine that. You lose your son, and then the police thinks you have political motives in trying to find him.
If they want to label a concern of a family as political, then go right ahead. Describe the political motive and no.
Miyudane aila timage mihako Gelduwalege magannagagen ege siyasi kombena me bawnnane. De ekamakas fulluhun ete portray Korea gota. They make a public statements that are confrontational, were defensive, needlessly defensive, even not accusing police at that stage of anything. Mihar Kura. Mihar, we believe there are two crimes in this case. One is Rilwan Gelduwale. About me crime. Then is this cover up. It is a cover up.
Obstruction of justice is a crime.
Obstruction of justice in case of balang notaril divert kore masaketta. Negligence, there's two ways to look at it. Me generous kabonanya farak incompetent service to me deherajal fulhunnake. A level of incompetence me kiyane August 12 ka me report kore Rilwan Geldona masala is a missing person at that stage. They should have immediately sort of made this connection. Those collect they never made this link to us. They have never officially informed the family.
Common sense. If a missing person report came and carry against the same place later on, maybe that there might be some connection to blatantly say day one look there can't be any connection.
Plus Kodumale is a very small place. It's an island. Kodumale miha gadakam karakam aruwagan devanaki hasabak. Then within minutes when you inform the police, they find a knife and everything. It is a violent crime. why couldn't they intercept this car? Why couldn't they identify where this was, what this was? Me car ko to ki hinet we kamet bis kamen nubala mi hum ge gos nidu maki a gabul korewa kana maslo. Like if they didn't have any, if they had the slightest inclination to solve this case, that case ereng edang aslo nimmena kame එහෙම පහුන් මෙමිහුන් මේ ප්‍රෙස් කොන්ෆරන්ස් එකකින් ඇස්ම කියන්නේ මේ report කරමුග තංකොළ ලස්වීම මේ දතිතක දෙමාවේ. There was no delay in informing them. Within minutes they were informed.
ගෙල්ලුණුකන් ඉගෙන්න ගිහා ටයිම් එක නිදෝන ගානි.
එහෙම වීම එමිහුන් නම් that's not a valid excuse. हम गेंदी अथना एमांजर फेनेगे एमांजर दम्मे में Gulaf engi followunna. Emihunna they could have stopped it or they could have intercepted it ere, but they didn't. Ege badalu they has solawan aharu April maho press conference bawa fami bunane emihunga tahagi gom me dakkane maalen illegally hulumale mikar gangassa anikka illegally ambura maale fanados pahungena wahaka. Then mikal wahaka take me dakkane ege they are faham almost. And that ek gabul kore again. And hisabam we like either the police is super incompetent, then that is not the label they like to call themselves. Amille me isarahatto game best police force kiyaga mule bayda UK in Australia and America ke hoda again. Medal take jahage mule bayda emihanna beena men nuwana kanne
emihunge job description ginna ikanne gana comedy wes.
Emihanna a label levels benaman no incompetent. Then even I don't believe anybody can be that incompetent. I'm not a trained police officer, but I can put two and two together and arrive at something better than what they have.
Most people can.
Yeah, most people can. And Ahmedja incompetent. No, then obstruction.
Obstruction.
So it's one of these two options. Either they obstructed the case or they are incompetent.
And no haruna nenge echeng oti ehem vejja eti bunedi at least.
So primarily then ege, but they are not incompetent when it comes to social media takon hawagen me me protest taka aharmenna wal korin me honda etana meda ekantatta kore barabara like clockwork, but me basic
they're very proud of it. I think they announced kannege that and digital media police kora wahake achievers were and with fanfare year ago or year and a half ago kannege I think
hana vet kusam wahidoge gengolam party ge Facebook page phone kandam menage police commissioner of police Maldives and me data collect kora wahake. I mean there's no law or anything authorizing him to collect data. Then me no data collect of rayatang itubar ko de kan ekhal message ke kiya Facebook obviously handam weden ega dos kola fa home minister ge nai baka kannege badal kore fa mate khabar no weda. That's the last we heard of him. But yeah, he did say that. You're right. Then me anane follow honna me kan nukore vejje ya then aharmen nakitto koraran follow honga matcha me there's this regulatory body PIC then pahong NIC and we have approached them. Then NIC kan nukore vejja majli honta oversight of the oversight bodies me hadane majli hadde petition ignore kore. Then anakolong NIC ge there's this complication. You might remember there's this, I think the deputy leader of the NIC, Yusuf Mania. His brother-in-law basically is the guy who's following Rilwan, or brother-in-law with cousin Nakkanne, or his wife's cousin basically. So when this footage was published, I think he in a Twitter me defend Quran that he couldn't have done this. I met him that night, sort of. I tweet take me Quran. Oh well, not him apparently. There was one tweet saying, "I just saw this tweet. My God, it was hacked." Apparently.
Me uriha rajya uriha members beno ha chubuna fadani hendo siyasi me na verinna.
Then whether or not Twitter hack uri come up with commiss me then Yusuf Mani Twitter hack ko gang was defending his family member. Then Amok mihaga account hack of they put up dick pics and stuff. But in this case, somebody hacked his account and was defending his family. So
क्या और क्या कहेंगे दादा
yeah, the mara double pura again like follow hung incompetent to hang me and again on to sacrifice koreve dane ta you need to sort of stretch your imagination a bit to accommodate mika hala realities tak the use of money ka hack kore account me mika hala hakata ka mulli mistake then I think his wife's account was also hacked because that one kept liking his tweets but I never heard anything about that anyway but I asked this hacked account, what time did this happen? Like when I mean earlier that night, which makes zero sense because later that night he was following Rilwan. We have it on video. So then he is just religious and so on. This is not right. But this is the person of this deputy head of this body which is in oversight of the police. Fuldohon tahogig mo paggang masad mi husharan mi mihon na mitag hore mina the mina head Korea account come up but I could give him a pass but I find that very intellectually dishonest to do that. So anyway and this is why we have sort of loss of confidence in these institutions. The NIC become nobalade. The NIC bonikan ne mihar ko report taiyar parang publish koran and then mihar में December as chehifa adivase comment kore and I'm actually not even holding my breath. I don't see how this could be a useful report. Ekama ko wes mihar me e jawab de ha duas vejje kanne ge da mihar de maybe I think Rilwan ke ailai me kore masakke this sheer amount of courage and stubbornness and hard work they have put in. They have done everything I think anybody could possibly do.
Given the situation and the environment, no?
Yeah, they're not, like I said, people of extraordinary means, but public events take media takangara ebahaka dekkom press conference take baba maulumat hissa korum waki gas follow honna mitibe institutions taka PIC NIC kan mihana baddal korum majlis petition ne hosha hedon majlis carrier ko saades ko fagunonda me to Bangladesh home minister baddal korum hem minister taka baddal korum raisa baddal korum ediya is common no ekamako for one family, one ordinary family to put in that much effort and time over this huge period. And itaram me hama magamachan nikonera full hong as Qurania taka hurihatchaka face of regardless they're stubbornly doing this. That is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. I mean, and the fact that they will not take no for an answer we'll only keep it going and it's very important to keep it going because if we let it slide then we just say that we're okay with him wang and we cannot ever admit ekam wang okay can we plus exactly. It would also mean me mihar ekam nokof kamawanya me hing ane malege hinga furi unexplained murders taka me kurin me deke wana waakata na besecheka netanno ane conclusion naka gengo sanaka to deke members dengam hivvaru edwala antibem beta de me waage dekki wabunane khaymen ane sifanna jassarani nunia siyasi wani ekamaku ane try to see us everyone should try to see those saga zaliyaka family ekige gota mihunge ane mihum marwegen da that they have valid concerns and they would be involved kang isnaga miha kong Rilwan mamma viasase meka to be because just can't let this go.
Yeah, I think I was trying to contrast this with talking about it and they have given up. So now I can sort of see why they have given up. Like this is just asking for punishment. So like there is no joy. Miki kuram bena megam work Wegen kurabis comment and magumach nukum hinga ka ben men nonda aslahana. We don't want to carry signboards. We don't want to hold the poster. This is not something we like to carry. This is a huge burden. And we are making. We would rather have him back. We would rather know what happened to him. And we would rather find out the people who are behind this and see them brought to justice. Hame kane Rilwan ge island plus his friends Benumba hame kane kamaki ekan nuwege miure. Adis mihara asoteka fansas first dos miure.
So do you think that they expect you and the family and everybody else to actually just somehow give up? Hey, is that what they think we will do?
I think that's what they originally assumed. Degotashe kantavani ega korimbe sama hama mihanta marada febore. Evahakata detinduhaka dakka haden. Nobody talks about it anymore. It's forgotten and just becomes a cold case. The Rilwan case, we didn't let that happen. We refused to let that happen. Rilwan Aila, like I said, is extraordinary. Vara courageous. Like I've never met his family before that. Now that I met them and I've spoken to them, I sort of see where Rilwan's sort of courage and stuff comes from. And I can see the sort of background he had. Like not just the courage, it's also his poetry and everything. His family is very good with Divahi and the words and poetry. Rilwan Gadattaras me we publish it on Find Miami website. So I can see where his literary values and his personal values comes from by dealing with by engaging with his family as part of this campaign. And a family ne kori hivar aslo mihar me family ka rajya ne kanya Rilwan ge wahaka ne hang overall nenge this miha. At the same time, there are many people. Sorry?
No, I didn't say anything. I was listening to you.
Yeah. Okay. So at the same time, I feel that many people also like are tired of this. Mihar kurevem hori ha masakkat kurevijjadan hembonanya. Ekam kayegans ebbes natija nonikunanya. It's very difficult to put in all that energy and time into something that just is not responding.
But what if that was the desired intention? Me the obstruct kura by get that okay. Mihen nuejia mihen again. We will make you come to that breaking point which you just explained to me right now. Intention which we cannot even allow a breaking point to say kitam fast approaching come obvious.
And I refuse to believe Rilwan I love his friend circle will ever give up. That's not going to happen. I was more of fun this has been our demand. Like I said, there were two crimes. One is the abduction, one is the obstruction of this case. Obstruction of the case, Adives para reach a bed. At the bottom, Rilwan guideline press conference, we have made a public demand. Inquiry, independent inquiry, hinga me case, gami kantata kurigo to get a hogi kuramaneka. Me full it is very clear to anybody with half a neuron that this is definitely obstructed. Inquiry has been the family's demand. I think media har made me MDP investor sarkar. I think that was one of the main demands of the May Day rally. That has been our consistent stand. Rilwan Vigo was a delay has been caused, we believe, due to an obstruction. Then independent inquiry maybe that inquiry will find out that the police were definitely genuinely that incompetent, but I refuse to believe that.
Where would such an independent inquiry come? I'm just trying to think.
Well, then you can agree that Misarukar, so long as this last were highly unlikely demand a fulfill independent inquiry. Was independently was Quran. But still, this is our stand. This is what we want. we need to know what happened. I think not just Rilwan's family. They were ayatun na bisa baingen jahe karne ga miwar kame hinga. How that was allowed to happen, and then how the people who did that were protected or not brought to justice. Adiwas mihatana other me. It hasn't happened yet. Those people are still around or alive. But then Syria diye ba kannenga viwate ekamako. This was not one or two people who did this. This was a highly organized crime. How do you take a car to Mahulamale illegally by yourself? You cannot. You can't follow somebody around and then also take a car and then do all of this alone. You can't. You can't kidnap a person alone. So mikam kuri ekakono demiha kuwasma. This is somebody has funded this. Somebody has planned it. Somebody did it. So, and those people are still around, Ebona. And
I know it is really hard to figure out a motive for potential crime and the crime itself. If we can somehow get to or arrived at a motive, maybe we can and again extrapolate kurevidane kadne kedo khakuto and just to narrow down field of suspects. I'm trying to just think here.
So now, those of us who know Rilwan personally, we know how he was super gentle, like a genuinely nice guy who couldn't think anything, what do you say, harmful towards somebody else. But nevertheless, his biggest sort of weakness or the reason why he would be a target is he was very outspoken. And because that, like I said, that ties in with his courage. If he feels that this is right, morally correct, he will say it. And that was how he has always been. Like, that's how I first discovered him.
No, that's how most people first discover him, though I found out him through his vocal and media presence. So,
yeah, exactly. So long before he was a formal journalist at minimum, he was doing journalism on his own as an independent blogger. Mege etang harakon dehas ashen hisabuga was when I first discovered him. Dehas haten ashen hisabuga. When I started writing about Devahirajya and then the comment section of Moyamiha Feshigata then gota vahaka dakkamangas ane I discovered him as a blogger. I was very fascinated with his intellect and
he brought fascinating perspectives into topics though and just conversation.
He is very original thinker. That's how I always thought of him. And then they have Snuavana Harfahakol Maldian as Dimavi for Tamafar Huria bloggers that get together or baby for her. Sorry, I met him. And I found we were quickly, I was very fascinated with him. And I was kept saying I should write a book on you. Fun service, whatever, however old he was, he had fun service experience. That's what I always told him. Because he was, involved with this radical group at one point when he's teenage. The Pahang Harrisnigam, he came out of it and began countering them. And everything he did carried a personal risk because a mild opinion, publicly express coffee and you automatically become a target. That's sort of conform and
Aharomenge lived experience for the last few years.
No, but I think you would also identify with this. I would identify with this. In fact, Rilwan and me, I have actually spoken about this. In 2012, we know Hillat got attacked. He was also outspoken. And I think all of us felt super vulnerable because nobody was arrested or I don't think the case was ever even investigated on him. Hillat was attacked a couple of times. Once, I think in 2011.
December.
December, there was the silent rally. Yeah, and
I was also at Maldivian. I think we were all there.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was called, but I got busy at that moment, and
You and I met ekkala police report korang gossa
exactly.
yeah.
Then eduwa huwes ekan kurimi hungas photo wa huri hacha naga fagas follow honna hawa kurima. Emiham ete beena men weda accept koraka wesa. Na commerce police superior ka gulagen wahaka dakkanda emiham. Then egas ko very behillat akala attack kurimi hagengas and was kept in a cell, but and I think I had to publish that on my blog, all the pictures of the people who were involved. Then I think Rilwan also tweeted his picture and saying he was being followed by this guy. So Rilwan, no, was that he was being targeted by these people because he kept talking about me, freedom and extremism, and he knew me gonna religious extremism and so on are social issues that destroy society. Basically, he knew the origins of it. He was intellectually capable of understanding the historical perspective. And he was one of the first people to talk about it. Everyone knew that early on, so that was, I think, his mistake. But then it was not that he didn't know there was a risk to his personal safety. He knew that Abadu was. It's just that he didn't care because the truth was the truth, and he kept writing and tweeting and sharing things about it. I think after Hillat was attacked, I think he said something. I think like list bala masha than then because I'm the more.
Really, he said that.
Because like we were the, I think, first few people to blog in our own name and talk about Mibona religious extremism and social issues. Then about the target to ever the Hillat was always number one on everybody's list. But when Hillat was attacked and we were at the hospital that night and everything, it was a very troubling moment. Air was inge the mega was insaf and Libanakam, Tahogiga was Nukoranakam, and didn't. And a case was at the Duakas, I was colleague with Jehe. And then he left the country, he has stopped writing. Rilwan has been abducted. And then all those people who were murdered never saw any justice. I mean, Konduha Kumba, insaf, Milibena, that just.
This job, and every household somebody is asking though me other. Kommes kotaka kineng ye insaf elli.
And that was what I was trying to say. Mihar dehar again there me like people are tired. Like at some point, they get frustrated and they want to give up. But as the give up can become a no one. It just won't happen. Then me Rilwan campaign na guligan rather Rilwan abduction na guligan from our campaign kala international events like in Australia and in UK just to spread this information around. Then I have traveled to Colombo, me regional journalists me campaign was and we have gotten solidarity from all these people. The media for September I was in Geneva speaking on a panel about Rilwan to the international community, then diplomats and everybody's first question is why is the police not doing their job?
It's why? Why?
That full of migota treat kofana Rilwanga aila besaneka. They can't picture this world in which police will just abdicate their responsibilities. I mean, gabol koran tative. Then half the time I have to start from
There's so much explaining backstory. I could do.
Because they find it difficult to believe like the conditions in which we operate. And they were hinna me har me they normalize it.
Fenadiri fakulli ka
Normal.
ego
Me ki dunia kan that hinga danje he kota besno ba kota besno. This is not normal.
No, it's not okay.
Yeah, and then kama kumi sarahad doge emme forihama police me kocha police service da me hum kiya gata. You might remember there was a murder case in Colombo of a Maldivian. I remember how within days they established who it was, they found out the cause, they used CCTV footage. Me akila Lanka.
Ek field terega maru just not to name who, but field terega maru
Exactly,
yeah, okay.
Exactly. So that is proper police work. They found out who, they gave a motivation, and they did everything, and they did that in about a space of less than 2 weeks, maybe. And that is police work.
No, that is expected that you do that kind of work, though, because.
Ekamaddo me mihana masara deepa tamrin takan me deepa me mikam ramete be pamaluwa. Da ekamen nukore me. Emasala me jassane wake. There is no siyasi motive to this. This is like a fundamental right that this is their duty. This is something that we expect them to do. Koggen emasala jassane siyasi be. That's hard to believe us. Yeah, so, and then I find that Rilwan was also staying alone in Holomale. He would tweet out his, fairy tales and so on. I think he was an easy target. He would be working alone at this time of the night.
Easy targets husto thipeni, but target a visa in the end.
And because he was outspoken,
but there has to be more. It has to mage gut feeling.
He on the fall kurum hutto ultimate goal because they can't operate in a marketplace of ideas. That's what I feel.
They can't. What we are doing right now is dangerous even.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same threat that Rilwan felt. We used to discuss that. Not just me, everybody involved in Rilwan's campaign. I mean, I've spoken individually to so many of them, speak as a group. For instance, MDN report published press conference ka Hinda and Mushfiq were there. They got so many personal threats escalate again. Everybody in the campaign is afraid to go out alone. It was called Hasako. Akkala aila miham seha kamboduwe mikamaga uleti uttu ambas masaka kore by fahar me. They were like directed threats at pretty much everybody in the campaign. But this I have to say, like most of the people I've worked with on this campaign, extraordinarily brave Hamanekas, not just the family, Rilwan's friends. We have, journalists and artists and Horiham. I don't want to name them, but necessarily not because of anything else. Just don't want to highlight them more. I don't know why this sounds like a security risk somehow, but everybody knows who they are, and but they are extraordinarily brave. They're very hardworking. The time sacrifice and it's emotionally draining. It's not easy to sit and so sometimes we have to use some sort of humor or some detachment to just function. But
even we've done that few times already in the last 1.5 hours. Just so we can continue talking. And,
but it was seriously stressful. And there's a girls in here who live next to gang populated areas and stuff. Then they have September maho. Me spike and death threats. Like I didn't want to report it, but my lawyer sort of advised me to. Report couriers. Record purposes of courage. And I went and reported. Minimal news office got attacked. Because like was identified on camera and everything, left a machete through the door. And I said, So that level of impunity is what we have grown accustomed to. And that is not normal. That is so abnormal, but people have sort of gotten used to it. And that's my biggest fear, that this state of affairs should not continue, but might. But for me personally, through this whole experience, I couldn't have done it without this support group of Rilwan's friends, his family. They would get together, have tea together, speaking to them, working with them. We all feel the same way
Supporting
about
each
Rilwan.
other.
We feel the same way about the state of affairs in the country. And in this, I know that it has taken a toll on almost all of us, though. And yet, we sort of feel like we should continue. And part of the reason is in the end, it has to continue. In Geneva, I met the family of this disappeared journalist in Sri Lanka. There is Pragit Eknaligoda and Kian. And they has Tihewana Harkaneg Rajapaksa Zamanaka. Gelluwade, cartoonist and journalist. So Iris Surang, his wife, has been running this campaign for him. And she was harassed, arrested, same story as Rilwan's family. And I actually knew about this case in Lanka because I was talking to a Sri Lankan journalist friend and she told me about it. Then Fahungas Midimawi, and she was wearing a sweater and had her husband's picture on the back. So I was super touched by her bravery and her stubbornness. That was in 2010 of Michigan. She kept insistent, and she didn't have the circle of friends in it like Rilwan had. She was facing this alone mostly. And she gave me a postcard with his drawing on it. It's quite nice. Very, very courageous lady. From Enes Dulan Nukor, na Pahungas Mivigotake, Rajapaksaga Sarukar Badalvi Hisabam, Sirisena Sarkaras. And then finally the case started seeing some results. They found some military involvement in there, arrested some officers and so on. The case hasn't been resolved yet, but there was some breakthrough. They had some idea of who was involved in this. And that is my hope. Aslo may comments to Apadak no Nanakan Abdullah Yameen Rasheed Kamagada.
Judiciary was about the funny of a non dynamic Kaumo Majlis was saying about
Skala Badale. I'm not a common Mikabul Kurani.
Umidunang HMO to Nevia Harnaka Kuraka.
Then we met the philosophy who was tipping me Hamas Badal Vedana Kanekus, though Hakanetana. Rangal Biko Satuvedan has become Balambenum Mihakos, however, become Kofani Kamago Medivaslam Kurani. Until then, we can't give up either. So, me point of view. So,
no, don't give up. I mean, that's Rilwan wouldn't want any of us to give up.
Yeah, Rilwan wouldn't give up. So
no, he
something
wouldn't.
Like a mental competition. What would Rilwan do? Wouldn't give up.
He won't.
Yeah. So, then I was at this Transparency and Baby Human Rights Defenders Conference. Then because the thing is, I don't always tweet about it. I don't always put something on my Facebook. I sort of constantly think of Rilwan. Even in the middle of something unrelated, like he's still missing and all. So still there. So we were at this conference and we were talking migrant rights. I just immediately brought back thoughts of Rilwan because he was very passionate about that, climate change and
Bangladesh workers, he made a big deal about it.
Thoughts that this is something he would have liked to participate in. This is something he would have had a lot to say about, and that makes his absence for
felt.
And I feel that is such a big loss. Apart from being a journalist, is also a very strong voice on this. He had somebody who could contribute.
It's a huge loss. It's an unbelievable huge loss.
Yeah, so like those are moments when I just feel like Rilwan should have been here, or he would have been so much better at this than I could ever be. That he had so many intelligent things to say about it. And then those moments, I just wish like we could have done more. Now, I don't know what we could have done more than itura kurevene kome besnege da miharu. Kurevene huriha kame as individuals in this country. Aganda community kurevifa. Then utihama repeat kurun the same message again and again maki. Ituru wahake dakka ka besne.
Then give up no kurang azum kandalom nani that we cannot just simply give up.
No Quran. Hiyan wa Quran hai everyone garakte se bes aila vese kamako. Mege we need sometimes I feel like we need the closure. Ete no debe ganta me hori hada masakkam kori da. Ekamako and it annoys me, it irritates me, it enrages me the fact that mikam kuri mi hang adiu se bathibbe ha ma de ekori ege hagiga inge mi hang se batibbe uniform ala ege o sarukar te ega o gangs te ega hagiga enge tibe mi kiyani harm koro. That is such a infuriating thought that I feel like I don't know. I feel that's like such an injustice that is happening. And me Find Rilwan and poster if I go Dari Gelligan Salam Jaha Manzar. And that is such a contrast, and that really enrages me. And then Mekang Kori back, like I said earlier, then target Kori. When we don't know for sure, but Rilwan follow Konwanta Rilwan me inzara dikanta me Qurani me bona dini me hum. This is something a dini person would do in my mind. This is not somebody who's at peace with his religion or anything is likely to do in my mind. These are criminals, and this is
definitely. I absolutely agree with you that these are criminals.
Amilya kalama deen very vegan criminals basically. And the fact that
in a fair world, impunity
no. Like I'm not just saying the current government. Parties they have been using these gangs for their own things. Gangs radicalized MD and published Korean independent investigator report me leads me propose kori hama ekkada me bona gang members. So and the fact that they have political protection makes it sort of impossible to prosecute them under these conditions.
Then varadiu ko mi wahaka me dekone 1 hour 30 minutes for but I mean every have
pent up not pent up but 2 years of consistent work never done. I think we should probably wind up soon.
No, I'm really appreciative that you went through a painstaking memories and to actually recall all of that. I think it's important a very personal version of this ginami hunnang even that me harumen mikura masekkatuge fahatuge motive harumen me du kolle wenne sababu ginami hunna feel a communication warabboda ginadu bandukoggen wargin tibe vijjata do and we can't we have nothing else to do which I think harumenge feelings ke waken den dakkanje hene a feelings that dakkan at least that's one thing we can do, and that's an attempt kannege conversation achieve kuram me olen. Then let's hope ane positive gotaka vanakan that this work is not going to be fune fire thing makan nuwe.
And then and we're not likely to give up anytime soon. And we are confident, very confident that the truth is out there. There is data enough to implicate or find out who was behind it, who was behind obstructing the case. Mihuri ha malumat was ebahore atu jehe isabu was ebahore.
The truth is always out there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, in a form that is tangible or provable. And we will hopefully get there and discover the truth and bring these people to justice. And that is something I am very insistent on. Ekam kurevedane, kurevembane. Ekam kurevenger kotaka mi kurang osebajehe. And until that day comes, we will be doing this. We will be going forward with the campaign.
Okay. So, anything else you want to add to the whole conversation on switch so that we can get through that point and then make it brief and 1 hour over the media consume
that was pretty much it. That I personally am really derive a lot of courage from Rilwan's family, particularly his mom. She's like a source of strength for everybody. So I don't want to disappoint her at this stage. I feel like I owe it to her to sort of see this through its logical end. And I'm sure that's the way all of Rilwan's friends feel about it. And I think that's just how we're going to be. And I mean, throughout this International Human Rights Day, we'll be tweeting up stories and stuff. Let us see. Hopefully there will be a change and we will come to justice.
Well, thank you for sharing. So just Rilwan side just talking about what we are doing so that our audience also knows. So we can expect another conversation between you and me next week somewhere without even schedule like Nukovius.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's see. We can schedule it out and discuss maybe the week's topics like you mentioned. At this stage, let us just say we will meet.
We will have another conversation and a date look of another. No?
Yeah, right.
All right.
But we will communicate again.
Okay, definitely. Well, thank you for your time, Inge. Definitely, I had a pleasure of just being here talking to you. And it was very good to see you.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for doing this. I really liked your conversation with Velazini and the rawness and honestness of it. So convinced me to do this because I'm not a public figure but I think this is a very honest medium. So I just wanted to get it out. Thanks.
Okay, no worries. Okay, I'll see you later. All right. Bye.